Well, hello and welcome back to yet another TwoSun Tuesday. Whoa, yeah! This guy right here is a Wong Design. This is the TS81. It is fairly reminiscent of another model that a lot of people really love from him, that being the 127. But this is obviously kind of a predecessor sort of thing. So yeah, I do like the corrugated orange and black G10. It's kind of a nice Halloweenish look to it. It has a ton of I don't know if you'd call it corrugation, crenellations, whatever you might want. But it's all up on the back here, which I've noticed you don't really make any interface with, so it's purely visual. You do get, I guess, a little bit if you want to hold it in the reverse grip. You do have a little bit there at the end, but yeah, it's kind of an interesting beast there. Flipper tab works out quite well. This one in particular isn't the strongest detent in the world. As you can see, I can fail it fairly easily, but I really don't care, because if I'm going to be opening a knife, I'm going to be opening it, so I'm going to apply proper pressure, either that way or, with the lighter flick, like I like to do a lot of times. Or if I'm just playing around, I can use my middle finger. But yeah, this guy has a lot of interesting things going on. You can see that you got a decent amount of belly coming up here, and the blade actually arcs ever so slightly that way. This was pronounced a little bit more in that other knife that I was talking about, but this is an incredibly usable blade. It's a little shorter maybe than I would personally like, but I can certainly see why he went this way, because you don't really want, a giant fat blade that starts looking kind of like one of those crazy cleavers or something like that. The only thing that I kind of get a little sad about with this guy is this hole here, which just isn't, you can't really get in there either way. It's just visual. It doesn't really help you in any way deploy the blade outside of the flipper tab. So yeah, it's got some visual flair with that kind of triangle shape there, and the crenellations on the back. But yeah, it's got their deep carry pocket clip. Obviously, it's got button head screws on it, so if you're trying to use this on some crazy thick work pants during the winter, you might have a little bit of trouble with that. But, for EDC purposes, it should be perfectly fine. Yeah, as always, let's go ahead and take a look on the inside, see what's going on. Oh, I suppose before I get that far, yes, this guy is in D2, because it is kind of one of their earlier models. So yeah, I've been having amazingly good luck so far with cut testing on TwoSun's 14C28N and D2, where they've far exceeded my expectations. They've also far exceeded what their more expensive steels from the same company are doing, which, yeah, I'm a little confused in general about. I don't know if it's that they really have a great grasp on how to do the heat treatment and production of D2 and 14C, well, not production of 14C28N, because it's Sandvik steel. Or if they're just not quite up to snuff when it comes to some of their higher end knives. But yeah, both D2 not this guy. It's another one that we'll get to in a couple of weeks. And 14C28N, which I've already had up here on the channel, have both cut amazingly, like well over 800 times. Whereas, my best higher end steel was S90V with them, where I got 730. So it's kind of interesting. But yeah, so we got, standard fare of ceramic bearings in the nylon cage. And you can see that, there's been quite a lot of skeletonization going on here, in immense amounts on this side, and you actually do have quite a bit on the liner lock side too, which is interesting. And you can see this kind of interesting shape. You got those two spaces at the top, and you can see this screw right here on both sides. And that isn't particularly used on this model, but I am aware that there's some other knives that might use kind of the same kind of liner holes situation, that actually have holes through the blade itself, or through the handle and all that sort of stuff, and might use that for a fastener, or it could be used because it's the same pattern. And I think there might have been a titanium variant on this that kind of mounted the scales in from the other side. Either way, doesn't hurt anything. Works perfectly fine, and it's just, an extra hole on the inside, so you get that extra half a gram out of your knife or whatever. But yeah, nothing super crazy interesting going on the inside. I do like this kind of interesting hook that it's got on the back to go to interface with the blade stop, rather than just a flat piece. I don't really think that offers too much extra in the way of functionality, but it's an interesting design choice, and I personally like it quite a bit. Yep, there's a G10 backspacer with a single pin going on there, and they've done this on a few where, it doesn't go all the way through, but it has, 3/4, which still makes a solid lockup. I think it's mostly a design choice, because it doesn't really hurt anything one way or the other. But in case somebody was worried about that, no, I haven't really experienced issues with durability or anything else with those 3/4 holes. But yeah, I do quite like this knife. I do have to say, I did get it after the 127. Is that the number I'm thinking of? Yeah, it is. And I do have to say that I do slightly prefer the 127 over this guy. It just seems like it was this knife 2.0. And I can actually pull that out really quick. I should have it somewhere nearby, right? Yeah, I do. It's right here. So yeah, you can see it's quite similar. This guy's got a little bit more curve going to him. But in general, yeah. And we can flick both of these guys out. And yeah, they're fairly similar blades. This guy does arc up a little bit more, which I actually personally like, because you can get a little bit more use out of the tip if you're close to something like, ground or a box or whatnot that you might be sharpening on. And they've also changed this little triangle thing into a fuller with a little with a hole on there, and that allows you to easily be able to spidey flick or use the thumb deployment as well as the flipper tab on there. But Otherwise, they're about the same. You know, they have kind of a lot of the same G10 patterning, except obviously this one is white and black instead of orange and black. And on the back, they didn't go quite as crazy with the crenellations, just having some jumps in the G10 that actually extends a little bit further. So it was kind of, oh, right. The other thing is that this one is 14C28N instead of D2. So in a lot of ways, I really do feel like this was version 2.0 of this design. And they're both great. I think it really might depend on whether or not you prefer 14C28N or D2. Or I guess if you're really into orange, but at this point, TwoSun's got a lot of options for people who like orange. so there's that. Yeah, so anyway, this is about this knife, not that one over there. So yeah. This is a fun knife to play around with. Does perform quite well. I do kind of wish there was a little bit of jimping going on the back here. It seems just a little bit smooth. And, you know, it's jimped up to the point where I kind of might actually want some jimping either way there. But, yeah. You can see that that also improved here where it's got some jimping right there. So, yeah. Alrighty, so that is the TS81, which is obviously a Wong Design. He's got a very, very easily discernible design language so far that I've seen in most of his knives, and I quite like them because I'm assuming he's probably got either hands gigantic like mine. I can't quite tell from his Instagram videos and whatnot. Or he really designs all of these things to be used with gloves. Either way, it's a win-win for this guy because my big old hands actually are very, very comfortable on all of his knife designs. Yeah. So, I guess here at the end, since I forgot a little bit of them, we got a 3.8 millimeter blade stock thickness at the very end there, but you can see that it very quickly tapers off, and it also has a swedge, so you just have this little tiny sliver right here, and you know, obviously the flipper tab that'll actually get there. It's 129.5 grams, so not too heavy actually, and you saw how much skeletonization was going on there. And 0.67 of an inch handle thickness, which is pretty common for well, a lot of TwoSuns in general, but I do think quite a few Wongs are right around there as well. So yeah, it's a 3.8 inch blade too, so you know, you got all the reach you probably would want. If you want any more reach than a 4, maybe 4.5 inch blade, you really should probably reach for a fixed blade at that point, because yeah, it puts just with the longer and longer and longer knives, you know, like the crazy cold steel frenzy that I took a look at a while ago. That had the 5.5, almost 6 inch blade on it. Puts a lot of stress on the pivot when you're cutting out there at the top, and yeah, it's probably not a great thing overall for a knife. So, I mean, if you're really looking for anything over 4 or 4.5 inches, you should probably look for a fixed blade anyway. So, I suppose that's just my opinion, but I tried it with the Frenzy, and it is just way too long and unwieldy. So, alrighty. As always, I appreciate y'all for watching. It's fun to go ahead and take a look at these guys. Well, one last thing I think that I do want to mention is that the pocket clip sits on top of the liners. And I don't think there was many problems, but TwoSun had addressed that in future iterations. Like this, where it's actually inset into the G10. I mean, neither one of these offer left-hand carry, which is a little unfortunate, but this does make it much more secure because you don't just have those two vertical screws. You also have, you know, the other plane of movement cut off by the G10 that's quite strong as well. So one little more improvement that they've made over the years, but yeah. Alrighty. That should probably do it. Yep, as always, I appreciate y'all for watching, and have yourself a wonderful rest of your day, yo.